Hey everyone, thank you for checking out this week's video. I decided to do a follow-up on my previous video about the man who literally sold his house to fight against sex trafficking. In my previous video, I touched on how Billy Joe Kane has been fighting against sex trafficking since 2016, and how he used his decades of experience in the video game industry to develop a state-of-the-art virtual reality experience to better educate everyone from kids to police officers about human trafficking. In this video, I will ask Billy Joe to go into further detail about why he started this fight, what he has done so far, and what he will be doing in the future. Make sure you watch this video all the way through, because at the end, Billy Joe lets you know what you can do to better help understand human trafficking and to get his technology into your kid's school. I hope you enjoy the rest of this video. Okay, hello everybody. My name is Dave. I'm with Human Trafficking Hater. I'm here with Billy Joe Kane from Radical Empathy Education Foundation. So you might remember him from this past week's video. So this past week I covered him and his wonderful organization and the work that they're doing. So they're doing a bunch of things to kind of move forward. They've already done a whole bunch of stuff that I covered in that video, but we're gonna have a quick interview with Billy Joe, and we're gonna go through some of the stuff. So Billy Joe, thank you so much for being here digitally. We really appreciate you being here, so thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to have a chance to, tell our story.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to be clear too, I mentioned this on Facebook that upon talking to Billy Joe, so I met him through YouTube. So I posted a video, he commented on it, I spoke with him, and we're conducting this interview as professionally as possible, but I have really connected with you a lot. And so I think that your intentions are 100% honest. It seems like the organization is like just right on point. And so I love everything that you guys are doing. So, and we have been talking about ways that we can obviously conducting this interview and some other stuff moving forward. So just putting all of that out there that, you're looking for basically any way that you can really fight against human trafficking, it seems like. Am I right? I mean,
Yeah, this is my mission in life, so whatever I have to do, I'm going to do it.
Right. Okay, cool. Well, let's go ahead and just jump right in. So what is Radical Empathy?
Radical Empathy is an organization that is dedicated to ending human trafficking in one generation. We are focusing on the supply side of the problem. So there's people that come into this as victims. There are people that are perpetrating it, which we consider the demand side, and then we have the justice side. Right now, the best information I've gotten from everybody is the best way to try to end human trafficking is actually educate people about it. So one of the problems that's there that we're trying to solve is to get people past this concept of the illusion of choice, where you may think that people are choosing this life. So what we do is we have an interactive virtual reality product that we're putting online as well. This product actually shows you how this could happen to anyone. It happens through grooming, it happens through manipulation, it happens through force. And so when people have finished using our application, what they're able to do is actually articulate how this could happen to someone. And since we're using virtual reality for that, it actually raises empathy levels for victims and survivors.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move them into educational curriculum, which now that they care, they actually will pay closer attention to and remember longer. And then we do a post-test after that.
Okay. Incredible. I mean, and going along with this too, because I did mention that we have connected before this interview. So I have my Oculus headset that you actually sent to me with, yeah, we're on the same page here. So for anybody who's watching this right now, this thing is absolutely as incredible as he makes it sound. So I experienced it. I let my kids try it out, and obviously I censored some of the stuff that they were getting to, but they were just blown away. I mean, as somebody who is knee deep in e-learning for my kids, that had full engagement from them, and it got full engagement from me. So the spectrum here is just, I mean, like it's incredible.
If you don't mind me saying something on that, there's a whole lot of reasons that virtual reality is a phenomenal way to educate. One of those things is the power of empathy that it can actually bring up if you create an experience that really works and resonates with people. But there's a few other things that are super powerful about it. the level of immersion that you can get.
Right.
So when you cover your eyes and have your ears essentially in this world, you are paying attention to what you're doing.
Right.
And as David said, um, the actual application itself is fully interactive. There's a story about this young woman, and she explains how she was tricked into this thing, and the level of when the more agency that a user has, where they can choose what it is they do, the deeper their understanding. They say experiential education is the best way to remember something and best way to interpret it. So what you're doing is giving players a unique world that they can go in, believable characters that they can actually talk to and think about. But the fact that they can move anywhere and do anything they want at any time is amazing. The last thing I'll say about all that is that when you have these headsets on, the headset knows where the world is. So when you move, it's literally like you're there.
Yes.
Which is incredibly immersive. And one last thing I guess I would say is when you're giving a lecture, people aren't paying attention. Sorry, that's just how it is. They get
Yeah.
distracted, they get text, squirrel. But this activity actually forces you to pay attention. You have to be actively involved to activate objects and to listen to the story. You have to hold your head still to activate something, and you are seriously engaged with that material. We've watched thousands of people use it over the years, and that is the case. So
Yeah.
you're getting all of the attention instead of what is it? What do you get, like 15 minutes or something like that in a full hour class as an educator?
Right.
So we're
As an
happy about the
educator, yeah.
engagement.
Yeah, you're 100% right that uh, the amount of engagement that you're getting. I think it's something like in a lecture, people will stay with you up to 45 minutes possibly, but like you said, for what the
Right.
routine, I think it's like something like 5%. So
Yeah.
as somebody who's teaching in this COVID era online, I can tell you that there's not a lot of cameras on. So they're
Mhm.
choosing to, just even like in your face, like kind of blank out.
Right.
But yeah, to be able to get people to engage, you're right. When you put them in this world, and I know for me as a VR novice, when I put this thing on, I was there, and it was just, I mean, the graphics even were just like pulling you in, and that's one of the things too for anybody who's watching this. If you go back and watch that video, you'll see some of the actual footage from what it's like when you're in there, and it doesn't really do justice because you're not fully immersed, but it still shows you the level of detail that's in the world that creates that immersion, like you were saying. So I guess as we're kind of like riding this wave, so what was the motivation? So like we know what radical empathy is. What was the motivation for starting it though?
Okay, so I've always liked to think that I'm a relatively involved parent. I spend a lot of time with my kids. When they were younger, I was working on a project. We do distributed work in this industry because the best people are in different places. So I was doing distributed work. I'm at my house, and my boss would be calling me, and I've known this guy forever. And sometimes my kids would pick up the phone and then give me the phone. Sometimes they talk to him because they knew him too. So one day my kids came to me and they asked, why is he talking to me about this, that, and the other? And my wife and I were like, what is going on there? And so after we dealt with the police, we found out that that behavior is called grooming.
Mm,
And my wife and I were kind of like, well, exactly what does that mean? And it turns out that that's a way that predators can actually start talking to your children about things that are a little past normal until they get to the point where they're talking to them about their body, sexuality,
right.
possibly more than that. And the big thing that we learned was this could actually go from that to sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and ultimately it could lead to trafficking. And so at that time, I was working in virtual reality, and I started to realize that not only can it raise empathy, but it can actually do better at education. And I've done educational games and other things like that for years. And I ultimately decided that, I've made a lot of different games and, entertain people, but none of those games really are going to last. And I wanted to make something that was going to make a difference long term. So the idea was, how do I use virtual reality and its power of empathy to raise awareness of this topic that, unfortunately, when I started doing the research as a parent, I didn't find anything that truly worked for me or seemed like it was consistent or made me interested. It was all extremely boring PowerPoints and videos that were um, they were interesting and they would rip your heart to pieces, but ultimately it really wasn't teaching me anything. So I was like, I think if you can do something, you should do something. And so that's really, where I went.
Right.
Um, and I know you and I have talked about this before, but it took me about a year to really get to learn the field. And it took me about 3 to 4 months of constantly contacting people, telling them I'm really, really serious about this, to get the community to trust me.
Sure.
There are a lot of people that take advantage of this community of people, and I certainly didn't want to do that. So it took me a year just to figure out how to write the script and design it.
Right. Yeah, and the amount of work shows in the finished product. Like I said, not everybody's had the opportunity like I have to actually walk through and go through and take the time to adjust it. I think it's on average, you said maybe like a 15 to 20-minute experience, and I spent an hour in there because I was looking out the windows at the buildings and trying to see how far the sky went, because like I said, I was a novice to it. Um, so I guess we're segueing really nicely through the questions that I wanted to go to. So you're kind of touching on what makes radical empathy different than other groups that are doing this, but is there just like a little more detail that you can put into why this is different than, because there's obviously, like you said, this has been a thing that with the Trafficking Victims Protection Act coming out in 2000, there's been a lot of groups that have addressed it. So what makes radical empathy specifically different?
So radical empathy, that's a very difficult question to answer in lots of ways. I mean,
Loaded.
there are what I've found is that there are literally hundreds of groups across Texas that are trying to do something about this. They're grassroots groups. Sometimes it's a mom or a dad who's really interested in solving this problem in their neighborhood. So they go and they download some documentation, and they go out, to a school or community center or church, and they do the best they can to educate people from the materials that they get. And I mean, these people are heroes. They're doing the work. So as I started researching more of this, I was like, how are people actually delivering this material? And it turns out the number one way is through PowerPoint, and they're also doing a stand-up lecture, and to a room of people that are, paying attention or maybe paying attention. The best you can get in a situation like that is to actually have a survivor there as an expert to actually talk about this situation. And ultimately, my belief is that stand and deliver training like that is it's too distracting, and you're just not going to get the attention. And
Right.
the more research I did, it turns out the best trainings are the ones that have a survivor that's there and can answer those questions. So it's
Mhm.
like, how can we do something that will disrupt that concept? How can we do something that will get people to pay attention?
Right.
So Radical Empathy is the only group in the world that's using something as immersive as virtual reality to accomplish this. Um, and the idea really is to just really get the attention of learners.
Okay.
That is the single biggest challenge, and that's what Radical Empathy is doing, significantly different than other trainings here as far as I know, in the world.
Yeah, and 100%. Like, there's somebody who has been researching human trafficking for a decade and taught a course on it and tried to do different trainings on it. And there, you are right. I mean, even when I went in to train a police department, if we had a PowerPoint, because that's what everybody does. So,
Right.
I mean, the innovation here is, is obviously paramount, and it's definitely uh, as significant as what you're putting out there. So, just to roll through, so what is Radical Empathy doing right now? So I know the VR thing is already established, it's done. So what's kind of, what's happening now? What's the next step?
Well, like you said, the VR thing is out there. People are using it. Kind of a little bit of history. We got started here in Austin at a local school. They were very interested because they had a VR club. So they were like, "Hey, we've got to get this app in here." So we made a deal with them so they can actually use it, test it, see how things were going with the kids. And then we expanded to a middle school in California. Uh, um, Vista Innovation and Design Academy. They're
Okay.
absolutely super fantastic. They believe in what we're doing. Uh, and so we were there. We got lots of feedback from them. And those at that time we were using the HTC Vive, which is a little bit bigger, more expensive headset that requires a quick computer. Very expensive. I think it's about $2,500 just for the hardware setup and everything. And then our licensing fee was on top of that. So we moved from that to supporting University of North Texas Health Science Center, where they had a room of 75 students that they wanted to train in 2 hours. And there's just no way to do that with a Vive. So, I mean, not because it's expensive and you can't get multiple ones of them. So our goal at that point was to, how do we serve 75 people in 2 hours? And the answer to that was to move away from the HTC Vive to a more accessible, affordable headset. And that's when we decided to move to Quest. This particular Quest is $399, 64 gigs of RAM, and it's worked flawlessly for us. So we bought 37 headsets for them.
Right.
We ported it over so that these medical students could use it. They took a standard stand and deliver class, and they're all, taking notes as meticulously as they can. When they were finished with their notes, we ran them through this experience, and when they took the headset off, they immediately were like, this could happen to anybody. I've never thought about it like this. I mean, human trafficking can happen to anybody. They can actually be tricked into this. And it's like, yeah, you just heard a 30-minute discussion on this exact same thing. And they started running around, grabbing their notes, looking at stuff. So we created this very impactful product that is working to help medical students understand why it's important for them to learn about trafficking and actually understand it, because 88% of victims report that they saw a medical professional while they're being trafficked. And what that means is that we have to get doctors and medical professionals to understand what to look for. So that's kind of a little history about where we came from. Then we hit COVID, and that stopped everything in its tracks. I mean, I'm not going to put somebody in a headset when there's a potential, deadly virus running around. So we did a lot of soul searching about what we were going to do and how we were going to move forward. And we decided that we're going to go ahead and put everything online so they can be accessed anywhere. And
Cool.
the interactive 3D experience will be available through a web browser.
Okay.
Our target machine is a Google Chromebook, so that all the kids that have those at home can use it. And we're about to start a Kickstarter to get some help to make this thing happen.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so it seems like from where Radical Empathy was to where you are now, and you're definitely projecting it out, at least into 2021 here. And as we're starting to wrap things up here, where do you see Radical Empathy being in like 5 years, or in yourself as well within that?
Well, that's a great question. So in 5 years, I want to have worldwide access and worldwide, I guess the best way to say it is, we want to be the best training worldwide. And that's going to mean not just having it online and having the curriculum available online, but but having the interactive experience and the curriculum translated into multiple languages. I expect that we will have multiple modules. So like I was saying earlier, currently we focus on the supply. Later, we'd like to focus on demand. So we have a design for that. And then later we want to focus on justice, so we can teach people how difficult it is to actually get somebody arrested and put them in jail. So I'm expecting in 5 years, we'll have all these modules done. We'll have everything in multiple languages. We will be supporting, phones, tablets, browsers, virtual reality situations.
Right.
And these things change all the time, so we'll be continuing to research those. And ideally, we'll start covering a different topic by then.
Cool. Yeah, I love it. I love the well thought out where we are, where we're going to thing. And I mean, even what it's doing right now, like I said, I'm totally engaged and interested in just, the talks that I've had with you, but then to see where it's going in the next 5 years, and that browser base is obviously going to just expand how many people are being influenced and learning on this. So for somebody who's listening to this right now and is like, I love what this is, I want to be a part of this, how can people help out with this? Well, what can they do?
Well, the first thing they can do is visit our website, watch some of the videos. Our website is REEF Cares, which is short for Radical Empathy Education Foundation Cares, so REEF Cares. Most of our hashtags and social media is REEF Cares as well. We have a donate page, so you can take a look at all the other donors that are there, the sponsors that we have, the volunteers we have, and other opportunities. So for us, the biggest thing is sharing our work. You don't have to give us money, but find us on social media, post some stuff, re-forward things, and spreading the word is the biggest thing. Donations will come, but spreading the word is the best thing that everyone can do right now.
Okay. Like this video, right? So if you're
Yeah,
watching
right.
this
Share
video,
this video, or
the
turn
video,
your set your Amazon subscription or anything you do on Amazon to smile.amazon.com and choose us as a charity for
yeah.
free. It donates us money.
Yeah. And you know what? I actually I did that myself. So it was an easy step, and I had always been asked by Amazon to do it for other groups and stuff, and I was like,
Right,
I'm not doing this. And then, like you said, you've only got so much money, you've only got so much time, but like, what can you
right,
do? And I'm like, well, I get things on Amazon as most people are doing now because of COVID.
right,
So yeah, I set it to Amazon, and I had to go through the Amazon Smile thing. It took me, an extra 5 seconds, but to go ahead and
right.
have Jeff Bezos cut you a check, sure, I'll go ahead and do that. No
Yeah,
problem.
we'll take that. And one thing I know you and I've talked about is Facebook fundraisers for your birthday. If you're not doing one, go right ahead and do it. It doesn't
Right.
cost you a thing to run it, and we get
It's a great idea.
100% of the proceeds.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, cool. I obviously I could talk to you all day. I feel like that wraps it all up. So, I guess if you don't have any, do you have a closing thought or anything else that you'd like to add into it? Or I think that we pretty much covered it, right? Or
Yeah, we did. So what I would say is that the best way to get an anti-trafficking program in your school is to have one person at the school pushing for it constantly, whether it's somebody from PTA, a parent, a teacher. So we would love to hear, what is your school doing about it? Write us on the contact page. I would love to hear from you.
yeah,
I answer my phone, I answer my emails.
you do.
We want to take care of everybody, but we're constantly learning about what's going on out there, and we want to be part of the solution.
And that's awesome. And I think that it's such an empowering thing for people too. It's not just, dollars based. It's action. You can do things to really make a difference. And so
Right.
even if you're just somebody who can push it into the school, or an administrator or something like that,
Mhm.
that's awesome. So
Oh
uh,
yeah, we have free materials on our site. There's a resource guide that we put together for teachers and for educators. So if you want to get the most up-to-date current information, know where to go to get everything, you can download it. It's free. It's a PDF. You can print it out if you want to. You can use it forever. You can use it in your classes. We're just here to solve this problem, and we're going to do the best we can to provide everybody the tools they need to do that.
awesome. And he really is genuine when he says that he's accessible. So I met him through YouTube, and here we are doing an interview. So clearly he picks up the phone. So please reach out to him, because he's obviously, him and the organization are doing as much as they can to make an impact. But Billy Joe, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I think that people are going to get a lot from this. And I, look forward to seeing where you're at in 5 years.
That sounds good. Let's set the timer.
Okay, man. All right. Have a great day.
Thanks, man.
That is all for this week's episode. If you are not yet, make sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe here on YouTube, because there are new episodes every week and you don't want to miss them. Thanks for watching.